Alright guys, so Marvel Studios could be in trouble and probably losing its audience due to the fact and that with the projects that were not well received by fans and even with them like putting out too much and even with these characters that they were introduced, I have no idea where they're going next, especially since the last phase and even where the future of the MCU is going in general. But now today we got the bombshell with an article from Variety perfectly incites and that Marvel is in trouble and is in crisis, and even with the superhero fatigue and so much more. And so if you're new here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell so don't miss out on videos. And so let's get into it. And now, as I mentioned with Marvel Studios, they could be losing their audience, or they don't know where the future of their universe is going at this point. And now, even as we take a look at this article, it seems that Marvel is in crisis, or they don't know what they're doing. And they're bringing up the first thing they stated here in this article is that they're like working on or bringing back the original 6 Avengers for a new Avengers film that is reviving Iron Man and Black Widow, but they haven't yet committed to the idea. And now I think with this alone, I think this is a bad idea, because if even so that we saw these characters like get their send off in Endgame, and that was the finale to the Infinity Saga. But I feel like this would be a bad idea, because that would be just a retconning of everything that's happened to these characters, and they even with bringing back Iron Man. I think other send off like they died, but even so, like it's with a retcon everything. They're like desperately trying to please the fans, and there's even so. I feel like I don't like this at all. I feel like it's just to move on with a new Avengers team, and they're consider bringing them back for Secret Wars, especially as variants. And I think that this would just be a bad idea. You with the Secret Wars as going to have everyone coming together to take down Kang, and you would just bring back these characters specifically as variants, and that is bring back a dead Iron Man, a Black Widow, and even bring back a Captain America, Thor, and they'll be like messing up everything that has happened, and the fans like they will be happy about it, but it was like these characters just got their sign off. Next thing that they added is that with Marvel, they're reconsidering a focus on their plans with the Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror for the future of the MCU, specifically for the multiverse saga, and it's even with the Jonathan Majors, and like because earlier this year he's having legal troubles because he was arrested and even in court, and we're all waiting to see if he's proven innocent or guilty, so Marvel can reconsider him like playing Kang for the future of the MCU, and now you would that with Marvel that they're already like reconsidering, they're like focusing on like another plan, a backup plan. It's bringing Doctor Doom to be the next big bad, and I feel like this would be a good thing. But if you with Kang the Conqueror, that and the way that he was set up in season 1 of Loki and Ant-Man Quantumania, who was just a menacing villain, he was like terrifying on screen, but even though with Ant-Man Quantumania that was somehow not well received, quite frankly. But even with like Kang the Conqueror, like he was supposed to be the focus of the multiverse saga moving forward. That's with the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, and even it also states at the bottom that was someone that saw the Loki season 2 finale, and they had no idea where the future is going with Kang, especially after Loki season 2. Even though that we only have 2 episodes left, but I feel like this is like a devastating to learn is that with Kang the Conqueror might not be moving forward in the future of the MCU, and he might not be the focus as the next big bad. And that's why on top of that with Doctor Doom, like he was like the big bad. He was the villain of the Secret Wars storyline, specifically from the Jonathan Hickman run, and like even with God and Emperor Doom, I love that character, and even with like setting him up in the future of the MCU would be cool. But even with having Kang, that he was set up to be this big menace, I feel like we'll just have to wait and see. The next thing to discuss is the Blade reboot with Mahershala Ali. And now, if you guys have been up to date with the recent news on Blade, is that even ever since the writer's strike ended, that it's getting started to rewrite, and honestly with this film, it's going through a development hell, and they're not even close to being like close to filming yet. And even with this film that had like tons of writers come and go, and even with directors too, and even with Mahershala Ali that was ready to leave the film, and he was nearly going to because of script issues. And now even with Marvel Studios, they brought in the writer from Logan, and now that they're completely starting over from scratch and we're working on a new version of the script. And even with the budget here, it says they're doing it for less than $100 million. I feel like this is great news because even that we saw so many things from the MCU, especially with Marvel, that's draining their high budget money, especially on these films that end up flopping or doing a low at the box office. But even so, that we've seen plenty of other action movies that are close to this budget, and even with John Wick, but even for a vampire hunter like Blade, and even with just raising the budget to even lower would make perfect sense, because even with not everything needs to be a high budget film in order to succeed at the box office. You just need like a smaller budget movie in order to make a profit. But even with Marvel, they're considering doubling down on the budget for Blade, even with Mahershala Ali. I feel like this could be a win. But what the worst part is that, as this article continues, that it is explained by Eric Handler from Wall Street, is that if Marvel is putting out too much content, and if audience burnout with Marvel is actually a real thing, and even as we just take a look at Marvel Studios themselves, as they're spreading themselves out too thin and just putting out too much quantity, and even not maintaining so much quality, and even as we got new characters introduced, having no idea where they're going next, and even with post-production, that has been the big issue, especially with recent MCU projects, especially with the Marvels and Ant-Man Quantumania, and even as it states right here that with the VFX workers that they had to work 14 hours a day with no overtime, and that's why that they're unionizing as well. But even so, I think the MCU is definitely in trouble. And finally, for my big takeaway from this article is that with Marvel, that has clearly no idea where they're going at this point with their future, and even with the back like everything that they announced last year at Comic-Con, and with having no idea where they're going, and even with the rewrites, if they're fixing everything in post-production, and even with having products now well received by fans, and even with the last couple projects that have been hits and misses, or even stinkers, of course. But even now, Marvel is now clearly changing everything, and even with replacing the big bad, and even having changes for that as well, pivoting their focus on someone else, and that's for Doctor Doom, and for having him to be the next big bad, and even with not having Kang be the big focus, he was truly menacing, and even in Ant-Man Quantumania, and even in Loki season 2, they're pivoting Kang to be not to be a big villain, but even they're trying to shift their focus to another big bad. But so I think we should definitely be worried for what's the story for the future of Marvel Studios, especially for where they're going. And even after Loki season 2, I guess what does have to wait and see for where the future is going, and even for the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, and it feels like they just have no idea where they're going at this point. Even with them bringing back the original 6 Avengers for just a movie, I feel like that would ruin everything that has happened. And so even if they did bring them back, that would make no sense. I feel like they got their set up, they're just fine. And plus, I don't think we even need them, because even with the future of the MCU that is being set up, especially for the Mutant Saga, and even with Kang, and even with bringing in a new Avengers team, and especially for the young Avengers. But if they bring back Iron Man, a variant of him played by Robert Downey Jr. for even just a quick cameo, I feel like that would ruin everything. But I feel like we'll just have to wait and see. My final thoughts is that Marvel is definitely losing its audience, especially with the superhero fatigue that we're all experiencing, and even with people getting tired of the same nonsense and generic formula, and that we've seen a billion times with these projects that are coming from Marvel. And even with the future of Marvel is going right now, specifically with these projects that they got announced, and even with having no talk around them, it seems that Marvel is definitely trying to change everything that's happening, with having no clear sense of direction and spreading themselves out too thin. And even with the Marvels that is currently tracking low at the box office, it's not going to be a big financial win for the studio, but I guess we'll just wait and see at this point as well. And so that is where we had for this video, and let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. What thoughts on all of this, or what thoughts on this article, especially with the Marvel Studios that is in trouble, and if we should be worried. But let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe and turn on notifications for future videos, and also follow my social, which are linked down below. And with that, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.